Go ahead.
Okay, welcome everyone, and welcome to Claremont Place Senior Living to our Lifelong Learning Lecture Series. We are very happy to have Celeste Palmer here today. We met a little over a year ago, I think, at University Club. I was there visiting. Someone had invited me, and I had the pleasure of sitting at the table with Celeste, and we just hit it off right away, and I loved her story, and so we've been kind of fast friends since then, and she's been doing a brain injury support group here at Claremont Place. She's really kind of become one of us here at Claremont Place. I had her speak last week at a professional luncheon that I had. It was an Alice in Wonderland event. So she talked about how she was the real life Alice with her brain injury. So today she's going to be speaking on the Happiness Project. Your happiness is your responsibility. So let's give a warm welcome to Celeste Palmer.
Kitty, we saved a place for you up front here. All right, thanks. And what I want to know first is, did you bring your happy or did you come here to find it?
Find it.
Came here to find it. All right, well, that works too, because that's what we're all about today. I have to tell you that if you got the handout, so you kind of got a pre-idea of what might happen to me. Yes, in 2000, May, I memorized this part because I don't recall any of it. Thank goodness, I think. A gal ran a stop sign, hit me, my car rolled. They tell me it took the jaws of life to get me out of that car. And then probably my first memory may be something like, here I was in a human body, they had to tell me, because I didn't know that I even had to deal with being human. That's complex. Do you realize how complex it is every day when you wake up and you start the day? You're doing so many multifunctions and everything all at once, and most of them are on autopilot, so you don't even know. Well, it's complex, trust me, because I had to start putting all of those things into some kind of order and make some kind of sense out of it. So, yeah, very fortunate if you don't have to think about everything you do, from breathing to how many times are you supposed to brush your teeth a day? That was complex, because my hygienist at the doctor's office was thrilled at how many times I brushed my teeth a day, but it was getting ridiculous. So yeah, we have to think about these things then, yeah. So what was my happy? I didn't know. It was complex enough to figure out what kind of a human being was I going to be. I saw an awful lot of different people around, and I decided, okay, there's going to have to be something decided here, because there are an awful lot of characteristics in people all around me. And then I started learning about two things. Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. I went for it. It says so right on it.
It does.
I believed everything. It does. I believed everything I was told. I went for it. And then Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland became my alter ego. So when I wasn't being called Celeste, it was on the driver's license and the resume. And I found out what she did, and I said, okay, not doing that. Casa Colina, the rehab hospital over here, was the one that told me, you're not doing accounting because you can't do math. One of the funny things was that with my kind of brain injury, and if you read the notice, every kind of brain injury is different, one of the things that happened for me was, that made it impossible, I lost this.
Yeah.
So when I counted, that number did not show up. When I multiplied, subtracted, divided, I think I left one out, added, that number did not show up. It was going to be impossible for me to do people's taxes, do financial statements, because that number did not show up. Do you realize the disaster it would have been to go back to work, right? Not going to happen. So I started volunteering at Pomona Valley Hospital. And while I was still doing some rehab over here daytimes at Casa Colina, and they said, well, there has to be a workaround for everything. So they were finding workarounds for other patients, and I was finding workarounds. And so one of the workarounds I decided was that, okay, I'd start numbering on paper. So I was doing 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's something supposed to sit right there. So I put a Christmas tree there. Every time there was supposed to be a 4, I stuck a Christmas tree, because I knew that eventually I could turn it into a 4. See how the human brain can be very creative and can make things happen? And it made me very happy to have my numbers back. Now, can I always make sure that I get the right change when I'm at the store? No. Does it matter to me that significantly? No. Because there's bigger issues. I still don't know how many times to brush my teeth. So the issue is, how big are you going to make an issue? How important is happiness over dwelling on the little stuff? Does that make sense? So why did I decide to have a happy project? Because I kept noticing that as you sit in the doctor's offices, you ever notice how old some of those magazines are? So you've all been there too. Okay. Good to know. But I was noticing with some frequency that there were an awful lot of articles about being happy, about noticing, just, do a self-check on the happiness that's going on, or how do you get to happy, or what's going on with this happiness and depression and all these other words were showing up. And so it seemed to me that I had been on a journey of trying to figure out what happiness was, because I was watching a lot of people in order to figure out what kind of traits, characteristics did I want to have in my life, since I got it all erased. Amnesia is, it's all erased. Retrograde, antegrade, amnesia. The accident was fine if I didn't remember. I was okay with that, but everything else went too. Clean slate, make it up as you go. Okay. Because I didn't lose an arm or a leg or anything like that, so this is what people saw. I went for the short hair. Did you notice who has my hairdo the other night on the Academy Awards?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's copying me. Anyway, it's kind of fun to see trends and changes and everything happen, so I kind of thought, okay, this is interesting that I'm going to pick and choose the kind of characteristics that I want to be known for. So why not be known for being happy and finding something good in the day? Because it would be just as easy to wake up in the morning and go, wow, I can't do what I used to do. I don't remember what it was. I can be sad about that and dwell on it. Or I can get on with it and find out, what is today going to bring that might be interesting? Could go to the happiest place on earth. It says so. It's written on that building over there. Just as you go through the gateway, it says it's the happiest place on earth. But you have to choose something to be happy about. What did you choose to be happy about today? What could be something that you choose right now that you're thinking about that you're happy with?
Coming to see you, listen to you talk.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay. I like to be your happy. Being with friends, right? And you said?
My dog.
Your dog? Okay. She has a service dog that helps her out to kind of level out those anxiety moments, right?
No, it actually distracts people from seeing how crazy I really am. So
Well, there you go. Don't notice me, notice my pet.
that's right. Notice the dog.
Okay, that works. Children, and Anna and I were talking the other day. She has 2 boys, and they're doing exceptionally well in a couple of areas, and that's a happy time. Yeah. Travel, being able to get up and go out to activities, socialize. Socializing is one of those things, isn't it, that helps us to realize that when we're out with other people. I love this place. Claremont Place is one of those places where you can come downstairs and meet other people. Just sit out front, say hi to people. I had that come up in a discussion the other day with an individual that said, you know what, I just say hi. I walk through my neighborhood. If I'm really feeling in the dumps, I go out for a walk in my neighborhood and I say hi to everybody I see on the street. Oh, isn't that scary to do? No. If you're saying hi to somebody, you're being friendly. They may be caught off guard, but that's a lot more positive thing, isn't it? All right. Now, what I did was I handed you a little worksheet. On the back is a little activity to do. I better find one. Oh, thanks. Okay. So if you don't have a pen, I have some pens. Anybody?
Pens here as well.
Oh, okay. So we have some pens to hand out if you need them.
Who needs a pen?
Okay, we got some hands up. You just want to toss that?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Now, one of the fun things that we can do in order to kind of find out where our happiness is to notice where our attention is. So if you're noticing where your attention is, what pulls your attention from being happy? So I'm at number 1 on the back of the sheet. Okay? We got pens? Yep.
I'm going to grab this too. Oh, there we go, right here.
Okay.
Take a few.
Yep. The one with the commercial on it, you get. Okay, everybody got pens? Need one? You guys okay on pens there? Okay, you need another one? Let me see what I got over here. Here's another one.
Celeste, can I ask you a question?
Yes, anytime.
In your opinion,
Yes.
in your life, since the accident,
Yeah.
what makes you happy? Does it start from the inside and come out? Or is it something you visualize on the outside that you bring into yourself?
The answer to that is a resounding yes. Yeah. Because think about it. If I wake up in the morning and I'm a little scared because I don't recognize my surroundings, which does still happen, okay, it's a little bit of, the inside is a little too scared to admit what's going on. It's a little frightening. So I'm going to look around, and if the sun's already up, I'm going to be happy that the sun came up. Hasn't exploded. We still got sunshine. Okay? But on the other hand, it may be that I'm in a situation where the people around me tend to be a little bit anxious about something coming, something going on. So my answer then is going to be, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath in. I'm going to let that deep breath out. And I'm going to find out where do I need to be to kind of level things out, balance things out for myself so that I can find out what is going on here. Is it something that we need to be anxious about? And in that case, don't panic. It's time to find out if it's, how can we take the easy way out of this and find some balance?
Is it something you see, you feel, you think, you taste?
I think it's all of the above. It can be different at different times. At the very first, when you start doing these kind of exercises, I think that as we work through this, you're going to find that you're going to find something for you that works. I think that's in number 2, in the part B on this. So we're going to get to it, okay? First, what I want you to do is notice what makes you happy in the moment. Is it a sound, a taste, a warmth? Is it music, person, place? Is it a chair? If you like to journal, to write things down, it might be a pen and paper or a book that you journal in. Is it the sky? If somebody says to you, go to your happy place at the dentist's office while they're working in your mouth, do you go to the beach? Do you lay back on a cloud? Go unconscious, okay. And make sure that you're letting that feeling of being uncomfortable or anxious, let it go. Not easy, but let it go.
Easier said than done.
Yeah. I'm not asking you to let it go for the rest of your life. I'm asking you to let it go for right now. In this moment that we're sharing right now, let it go. Fair enough? You can grab it back up as you walk out the door, but right now we're putting all of those uncomfortable feelings out the door. So for right now, the time we're sharing together, the uncomfortable goes out the door. So right now we're finding a happy place. So what you do is you find out what that is. Maybe it's a photograph. Is it a photograph of you with friends, family? Is it a holiday past? Is it a reunion? Sometimes it's a social activity that you enjoyed.
It could be a thought too, couldn't it?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Could be a thought.
Thinking of a place or someone else, one you love, a family member, or a friend that you think dearly of.
Certainly.
It could kind of be in different tenses too, like happy memory, or you're happy with something that's happening right now, anticipation of something good.
Say that last part again.
Anticipation of something good, so past, present, future.
Could be past, present, future. Could be.
Combination.
Yes. She's saying it could be anticipation of something to come that you're looking forward to. Could be something that you are having go on right around now. Could be a past thing that happened. It's like having the photographs in our rooms around us, okay? A photograph is something that is a pleasant memory. Sometimes you put those up where you see them all the time. What I'm leading up to is, what I'd like you to do is to write down that what you're going to do is place on your calendar 1 week from now a little word or saying that you're coming up with now that is that happy thing that you're thinking about right now. I want you to put that on your calendar a week from now. Have it surprise you. Or if you're reading a book, put it on a piece of paper that comes up later in the book so that when you come to that place later in the book, it's a surprise. And that happy thought you're having right now is going to surprise you that it comes up again. And you go, oh yeah, I remember where I caught that idea. So something that distracts us in a happy way. There's enough distracting that's going to be out there that the world takes care of for us that's distracting in a negative way. How can you distract yourself in a positive way? You're in control of that bit of positive, that bit of happy. Does that make sense? Can you do that?
What if you actively decide that, quite frankly, you don't feel like being happy? You're really honest.
You're really being honest. If you decide you don't want to be happy, I don't know why you would want to do that, because being happy and being around people and sharing experiences with them makes most people happy.
What if you're just in a spot, though, that you seriously, you're just really angry and you don't feel like looking at anything positive? You just don't, honestly. I mean, it's a total, you have to face it.
I'd say that is a really hard place to be. And as many times as I found myself not wanting to, and I root myself, I tell myself that if that's really where I want to dwell, and I have never, ever, as deep and dark as the places I've been, with nobody around and nothing to do, but sit there and have that option, I've never voted for it. I've always said, nope, there's going to be some door, some window to open. And if it's as simple as just walking out my door, taking a deep breath, walk out the door, and go for even a short walk. Because you know what? Every time that sun is out there, even if it's an overcast day, I know that the sun is up above the clouds. I know that other stuff is going on. Turn off the negative news on TV and find out what is it that I'm not doing today that I could be doing. There has to be something. Now, what is it that keeps a person from wanting to do something that could be positive and that they might enjoy and find a smile? You know, I honestly, in my deepest, darkest moments, could not get that deep and dark without saying, there has to be something. There has to be something. Whether it was taking the cabinets off in the kitchen, because I had the problem of not knowing what was behind them if the cabinet door was shut, and I could never find a dish unless my son was home. So I said, okay, there's a solution to this. So no matter what I found as the thing impeding my progress through recovery after a brain injury and a lot of soreness and hurt, physical hurt and pain, and people that I kind of expected to be around that weren't there for me, or wanting help and not knowing how to ask for help because I really didn't know what was going on anyway. So a lot of confusion and stuff, and still able to say, you know what, there has to be something. And being on a day program over at Casa Colina and finding out that, oh my gosh, there are people that don't know how to get themselves into the next phase, how to find themselves help, worse than I do. So I started looking on the internet or asking other people, how do you get people to understand what's next for them? So by helping other people, I found was one way for me to decide, okay, there's got to be something for me too. And thus, oh, the website went away. Anyway, where this video is going. Just touch something?
I think so. He's asleep.
Oh, there it is. Anyway, so I started talking to people as I went around different places and found out that there were a lot of resources that I was uncovering that I could have taken a negative aspect about, because look at all these resources I was finding over the internet by talking to people at different hospitals or wherever, and I couldn't use them. Well, that made me angry. Now, was I going to stay angry? I couldn't stay angry because guess what? Through the different hospitals and networks that I was running into, I found other people use the resources I was uncovering. Guess what happened? Uh-oh, that made me happy. I helped somebody. What happens when you help somebody else find a resource? Okay, so that was a step out of the darkness that I'd fallen into. I was finding a way to help somebody else. So volunteering was one of those things. Okay? I'm not saying there's one way to do it, but there has to be something that gets you outside of yourself and outside of the looking at things just one way. And I don't know the answers for everybody. But I know that if we look at things and try some different things, we'll find it. One of the talks I gave in here, I had somebody tell me that one of the fun things about being in this at Claremont Place was to be able to do the social activities. Being in a social group and finding other people that had the same interests and then going off and doing those things together. In the support groups that we have, we found that that the young people in the brain injury support group that meets here, they started doing social things together and they want their own support group. Thank you very much. But you know what they also found? They started playing games together. And there's a gal who has had a stroke, and her recovery is starting to speed up. She's able to do more and more. She's speaking more clearly now than she did when she first joined our group. And the young people are saying, do you know how much fun she's having when we play our games together? You can see that twinkle in her eye and that little mischievousness that she's going to win. And they're enjoying that kind of back and forth, and that's a happy. So we're chalking all these little pieces and bits and pieces of things that are going on up to this is how you find your happy. So when it comes down to, okay, let go of that uncomfortable feeling, because what's the alternative? Is it going to be a bad thing? I don't know if sometimes we hang on to that, oh my gosh, if I let go of feeling nervous and anxious and upset about something, is it going to be worse? Try it. Just for the moment, you're in a safe place, you're sitting down, let go. Now, the worst thing that can happen is that you can pick up that negativity again, or you can choose not to. So, okay. Write some words that will remind you of that feeling of the happiness, of that feeling of when was it that I felt good about myself, or something around me, or somebody in my life, or my dog, my pet. There's something good that happens in your life when you share it with an animal, too, isn't there? We've all had a pet sometime in our life that made us feel like we were giving to that animal. Alice, the cat. So whatever that moment is. Pam, you had something?
Yes. Celeste, what role do chemicals play when we're totally out of chemical imbalance that then keeps feeling good? I mean, is that...
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. What she's asking is chemical imbalance, whether that is what's going on naturally or whether it's because of drugs that we're told we need to take. That is something to do with how we feel about ourselves. A self-worth feeling because there's some imbalance, whether it's as we are without meds or on medication. And that can really be disturbing to find out that happens. Now, when I have gone through that situation, the way that I've dealt with it is that, yes, indeed, sometimes we have to deal with those kind of things. I've gotten in very long conversations with physicians about it, and I've asked those around me how they deal with it. And from listening to other people and my own experience is you have to understand what the side effects can be and be willing to talk those over with your physician. If the side effects are as serious as what they're trying to fix, this is the joke from watching the TV commercials where they start saying all the list of things that could happen to you. You've heard them too, right? I'm seeing a lot of smiles. I mean, all these things that can happen to you that sound just as bad as the thing that it's trying to fix, it's time to weigh whether it's worth taking the medication for. And yes, there are certain conditions that make it even tougher to find a happy place, even if you're sitting in the middle of Disneyland. So the interesting part is to recognize how much of this is under our own control and how we need to have those conversations with our loved ones, with our physicians. Does that make sense? Yeah.
After your injury, the time in the hospital, the recuperation period, when did you have the revelation that I can be happy?
Let's see. When did I have the revelation that I could be happy? Well, I think I was like those little dolls that sit and nod and smile a lot at you on the dashboard. I was doing a lot of that around people because I had no recollection of anybody, and I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Was the only thing that was going on at the time. So until I really got a handle on things, I was not really. I don't think that was happy. I think that was being just a little nodding, smiling doll.
Did you feel sorry for yourself?
No. I didn't know how to because I had no memory to compare anything that I was experiencing to anything in the past. So some say that was a good thing, and some say, oh. One of my first feelings was I felt bad that maybe there were some family members around that I was really letting down because I didn't remember an emotional relationship to them. So that hurt a little bit. But again, hurt, it was weird recognizing that other people had an emotional relationship with me that I couldn't get into because but my own daughter said to me, Mom, we had this discussion and we decided that what we were going to do is say, what's more important to us is that you're here and we're going to have a relationship now. And then they took me to Disneyland. I mean, you know, and then my daughter who was from Fort Worth ended up saying, come on to Texas and we'll show you some fun things here. And then we went to Dallas and saw where President Kennedy was assassinated. So I got to tell you, being a tourist was one thing, but then showing me negative things was like, yeah, but I didn't have a memory of that, so now I do. So what have you done to me? So life is interesting, okay? Being a tourist and having them take me to these beautiful things, because the skyline of Fort Worth at night, they have lights that outline all of the buildings. So it really was beautiful. And sunsets in an area where they don't have any mountains that, you know, kind of change things. So it was a 360-degree sunset. It was really amazing. So I saw a lot of things that really kind of were lovely and everything, and different other people's ideas of what were cool and other people's ideas of what my history had been were kind of interesting too. Because it was like, and then the therapist that said, well, if Celeste ever comes back, you might want to take a week or more off because I don't know how she'll blend with your current, you're calling her Alice, are you? And of course, then there was the therapist that some of you know that told me, quit talking about Celeste as if she's somebody that you know or used to know. I talked about Celeste in the third person, I would say. Now, she left this note for me, and I really don't know what she's written here. I can't read her writing, but it was my writing. So I think that what I had to do, and Kitty, this is kind of an answer to what you said, I had to take everything with a sense of humor, or I would have gone crazy a long time ago. Because if you don't even recognize your own handwriting from the day before, or what you wrote on the calendar, you see where I could have gone crazy real fast? So I had to start looking at things with a pretty good sense of humor. Otherwise, where do you go? So what I ask people to do is kind of think about it in terms of how serious do I have to take myself? Or can I look at this and just set it aside for now? I'm not asking you to do it. Again, you don't ask yourself to do this for the rest of your life. Take it in small moments. If I do this for the next 5 minutes and I decide I like it, I could keep doing it. If I don't like it, I can go back to what I was doing before. No harm, no foul, right? But I also started realizing that, you know what? Instead of being dissolved in my physical pain, I could look at what I gained. Because I could sit at home and realize that I was depressed. I had a lot of physical pain. It was going to be more physical pain to go out in the world. Or I could go out in the world and recognize that I really enjoyed the gain that day. So what did you stand to gain by getting out? Interesting? Okay, so if you've taken the time to write down a word or two that will remind you about that time when things really shined, the sunshine was on you, and the world was good, find out what that is that you can put on your calendar a week from now. Put it later in the book that you're reading right now as a spot that you're going to see that's going to surprise you about a happy thing, a happy thought. Now, the next one was reflection. Instead of retaliation or distraction, pause when you feel the need to speak before thinking. If a negative thought comes in, pause. Recognize that that negative thing is trying to take over and stop. Because right now what we're doing is when the negative things come in, we just run with them. Well, you don't have to. So we can take that moment, go ahead, enjoy the time that we're having, and not let that distraction that wants to take us down the dark area. One of the things that was going on, I had to go take tests with a neuropsychologist, and one of the tests was, close your eyes while we do this test. And I said, no. Closing my eyes meant that the world disappeared. I had no memory once my eyes were closed of where I was at the moment even. So if I closed my eyes, I was now standing on a pinnacle as big as my feet only. And I had really bad balance. I was going to fall into the abyss if I closed my eyes. See where scary was? Everywhere. So when he was testing me for this long time with my eyes closed, all I could think about was falling, not about what he was testing for. So that was my distraction, was let me keep my eyes open 24, all day, all night. And the other problem was falling asleep and waking up and having lost most of what I had done yesterday. So there was copious notes about where I'd been and what I'd done, so I'd kind of have half a clue. And people, not everybody was being forgotten. Interesting life, huh? You don't want it. Made for interesting stuff. So what we're talking about under reflection then is you're going to pause. You're going to be able to take that moment instead of going off into some, chaos and things, is to take that moment and be able to think. Because you can. Because you have that right to decide what's going to be filling up your brain. Instead of chaotic thoughts, we can think about the time when we just expressed that we had a thought that made us happy. Be at the beach, lay back on that cloud. Take that time when that distraction of negative stuff goes on, especially with all the news lately. If you can't turn off the news because you want to hear the weather report, I know. Okay, what does it look like to discover happiness in your life? What does it feel like to discover happiness in your life? Could be a rhetorical question, but you could go ahead and share it with us if you want to.
Warm and fuzzy.
Warm and fuzzy. Comfortable. Anybody have one they want to share?
I think it's pretty simple. It just feels good. It doesn't have a particular, it's a sigh that feels good. And I think you're searching for the life that's coming at you that you didn't know about. And it's a lot like our aging process. We have a life coming at us that we are not sure what it's going to be. And so it's that fear of what's there. And we can either give in to that or we can enjoy the moment and think it's not here yet. So go on with it. So I think it's just a comfortable, good feeling to be happy.
Yeah, with my kids, I think it's like euphoria when, they won the prize or whatever, but with me being a school, it's more like just well-being. More calm.
Calm. That's a good one.
Versus anxious.
How would you define well-being? Physically, mentally?
He's going for, is it a cerebral thing or is it a physical thing? Or is it
It's
all of that?
Don't you have to put your mind in a state to feel the euphoria of well-being?
That's interesting. Okay, let's... Peacefulness, okay. And we're going to go back to what you were talking about. Peacefulness. If there's a misspelling up here, it's the pen's fault. Remember that. I didn't do it. I let it run and it went off and did it. Okay, we got it right? Okay. So when we're talking about... state that again.
Do you need to put your mind in a state of euphoria to have the feeling of well-being, calmness, rational thinking?
It kind of helps to quiet the brain because our brains do take off into a lot of chaos sometimes, a lot of negative thinking that sets us into the opposite of all of these words, right? And that's the kind of thing I'm trying to get you to, you can take this with you and kind of practice this. Because if we're practicing peacefulness and well-being and calmness and that good sigh, take that breath in and let it go. That's what they talk about. If you take a breath in and let it go, then did you realize where your shoulders were before you did that? Oh my gosh, I was so anxious, my shoulders were up around my ears. You know, when I went back to one of my therapists, they said, you know, when you used to come into our office, your shoulders were up around your ears, and that now when you come in, they're down here again? Oh, wow. Was that progress? So yeah, I think you're right. The other thing is that there's a terminology for monkey mind. All the chattering, monkeys, you go to the zoo, you listen to the monkeys chatter, and all this chattering's going on up there. Well, I decided that now I have a bubble. So if I have my bubble, there's no chattering going on in here, unless it's my chatter. The words I want are in my bubble, okay? Now I can see outside the bubble. It's a clear bubble. And outside of there are all kinds of words that other people are repeating. And they're repeating anxiety and noise and chatter and stuff is going on out there. But inside my bubble, I'm only going to hear these words. So whatever visual, whatever physical thing you have to do in order to make that thing start happening for you, to find your peacefulness, this is where we have to start, at the very basics of it. Because there isn't anybody that's going to come into our room, into our brain, and clean out that other stuff and replace it with this. That's why I think it's so important for us to have a happiness project that says it starts with me. And maybe that's why the shelves at the library and the bookstore and now on the internet for Kindle and those kind of things are so full of helping us help ourselves. And there's not just one, there's how many? I lost count. I'm not going to expect you know either. But the idea is that somebody's version of repeating these kinds of thoughts about how to get to happy, it's in our Constitution, isn't it? Our inalienable rights. How you like that? I practiced that word. The pursuit of happiness is one of them, exactly. Does that mean that we are expected to attain it? It's a pursuit. How cool. All right.
It's not even a right, it's a goal.
Yeah, exactly. It's something we're going to pursue. We're going to be after that all of our lives. Which is just what it is about being part of the human race. We keep at it until the day we're not here anymore. We never give up. Right? Somebody asked me, I have to write this before I forget, never give up. Somebody quoted me in a newspaper article many years ago now. Well, because I'm only almost 13. Think about it. Because if you start after a car accident and everything's erased, you get to say how old you are. I don't have to claim those first 50 years if I don't want to. Never give up. And my daughter said after I tried one more thing that didn't work out for me, she said, "But Mom, you never give up." And I said, "I'm beginning to wonder if that's a good thing or not." She said, "No, it is. Don't give up." Kentucky Fried Chicken, that guy, that Colonel, do you know how many times he tried before somebody actually tasted his chicken and said, "Hey, that's not bad. You should have a store that sells this instead of out of the back of your truck"? How about light bulbs? Those took a while before he actually found the right filament to make light and electricity happen. So, if we don't keep trying, we don't have success. So if you fail today and give up, when are you going to get to happy and success? Keep trying, because that's the one thing as human beings that we've got, is the ability to never give up. Especially on yourself. You're the most important person. The oxygen mask goes on you first on the airplane so that you're around to help the people around you. So, when was the last time you put the oxygen mask on you first? When did you get put at the top of your to-do list? Especially caregivers, especially those that are feeling that need to do for others before they even think about, gee, what would be nice for me today? Moms, grandmas, caregivers, family members, each of us individually that's feeling like, I don't know. Whenever that wobbly feeling happens, whatever your label that you're putting on yourself, it's time to think about it. Right? You're worth it. You're here. You woke up this morning, climbed out of bed, and got over here to hear me talk. I just think that's amazing. I'm really thrilled you did. So the fun part of it is that now it's on you. You've heard this. So what are you going to do with it? And it's not that tough. you've got a piece of paper that has a phone number and my email. So guess what? Worst case scenario, you know how to call me and say, okay, now that you put the test on me, what do I do with it? Because if you could call or email me and tell me what it is that you've done, that would be really special. I would love to hear what happened. What did you make happen in your life? I mean, one day it was a matter of, instead of getting out the big container of ice cream out of the freezer and saying, all I have to do is to eat today is 1 spoon, and I can wash 1 spoon in the sink. I don't even have to find that darn dishwasher, because it became wallpaper. I couldn't find the dishwasher because my eyes didn't tell, where things were. So I couldn't find the dishwasher. I know it never moved, but my brain didn't know that at the time. So things were difficult. So if I ate the whole thing of ice cream instead of having to, decide that there were other things I could do, that wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a good balanced diet, was it? Ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner wasn't good. And having discovered other ways of doing things was more interesting, too. My son thought it was very bizarre, but, it was like, oh, she actually likes vegetables and fruit. Who knew? Anyway, life can change, and we have to make that change happen. But it can happen in small steps, preferably in small steps. Because if we look at a goal that's too big, break it down. I certainly had to, because finding things, and it was amazing. Okay, appreciation, part C. Appreciation for the new perspective you have on life and your pursuit of happiness. Gratitude for the small things, for the big things. What did you get done today that you're grateful that you could do on your own? You got here. Somebody help you? Or you did it on your own? Either way, there's thank goodness. Right? I love it when somebody can drive me. And the days I drive myself, it's a lot of work. But when I've got that help, I'm really glad of that. I'm glad that I knew when to ask for help. Wow, what a concept. Is that something hard to do sometimes? Ask for help? When you can change, is asking for help a hard thing to do?
No. Yes.
Okay, let's put a different face on that one then, okay? Just for a sec here. In fact, we're going to put a different color on it too. Okay, asking for help is hard work. Ask for help. So we're going to turn it from being a negative thing into a more positive thing.
Just wave your arm.
Just wave your, help me! Somebody help me!
You better say fire, help me doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
Fire, people honestly respond to fire, not help me.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that weird?
Okay, well anyway, where we're at then is that ask for help. And we need help, and that's a negative thing. I don't want to have to need help. I don't want to have to ask for help. But guess what? I can't do this thing by myself. I've called him for help. Okay, so asking for help and not turning it into a more positive thing. What runs in your head right off the bat with that?
First thing is I'm thankful I have someone to ask.
Having someone there to ask, yeah? That's pretty cool. What if that person is saying, gosh, I feel so useful now. I wasn't feeling good about myself, but I'm useful to somebody. Very cool, right? You just made their day. What a concept. Okay, anything else? Asking for help, turn it into something positive.
What if you're always asking for help?
What if you're always asking for help? You feel like you're always asking for help?
Yes. That's correct, I'm always asking.
How, and you don't like that feeling?
No.
Okay, so if you feel like you're always the one on that side of it, because there's been times where I've been wanting to ask you to do some things for the group. he's in one of our groups that meets here and somewhere else. And there are so many things that folks can do to help out, and they don't know. And my problem is that my list runneth over. I have so many odds and ends of things that people could help with, and then that list is from yesterday, and then it's a matter of where did it go? It evaporated into the ethers. So I need to get my list and my people together, right? Our people need to get together and talk. Okay, what else can be done? It's just like, but you know what was amazing, Hal? Was that those kids in the group said, we want our own group. They don't have a problem asking for help. We don't have leadership, Celeste. Be our leader. Help us get going. So there you go. Being willing to ask. And then what can you do for them? So if we're going to ask for help, what do we know about the people that we're asking for help that we might be able to, I like the word barter, trade. I bet you already do some of that. I got a grin. Okay, so there are some things that we can do to reciprocate. I really don't like driving because it hurts physically when I drive. So when somebody drives me, I am thrilled. In fact, Chris drove me out to Apple Valley for an activity that we went to meet up with another group of brain injury survivors. And it was absolutely fantastic. Getting out there and being able to be part of that event was amazing. And a lot of people that I hadn't seen in a long, long time. And what a treat that I didn't have to wear myself out just driving there. Right? So that's a part of what's really, really cool. And then it's a matter of what else falls into your life that you can reciprocate with, okay? So think about it. And this also will build your own self-worth because I have stuff. What do I have in my other stuff in my life that I can do back for them? And then ask them. Can I take you to lunch? Can I have you do this? Can you come over here and do that? So the things that you know that you do well, this is what's really cool is this might take time. Make a list in order to ask for help and you need to do something to reciprocate. Oh, here's a word that it won't spell right. Oops. See, it's already saying. Okay, so if you want trade, I should have said that. I know how to spell that real well. Okay. Yeah, give back. Okay. Easy to spell. See, you guys are, now you tell me, see? Okay, so if we're going to make a list of the things that you do well, what are your strengths? Oh, I don't have enough paper for you to write all those things down. Should give you a whole sheet of blank paper. Write down your strengths. So the one thing that you could do to find you're happy is to write down what your strengths are. Write down the things you do well. Wow, that's hard. What do I do well? Okay, think about it this way. When was I in my own spotlight? When did the spotlight aim at me? When did I feel like, wow, I'm good? Do you write verse well? Maybe just sending somebody a thank you in verse, like a poem or something, would make their day. Maybe they don't hear enough thank yous because everybody else they do for, they happen to be related to in such a way that they don't hear thank you. Simple things, right? There's stuff out there. We just have to be willing to get out of where we've been thinking and open that window and think a little differently. Does that make sense? Oh, happy thoughts. It could happen. And we don't have to be afraid of it. Sometimes we are so stuck in our routine and our rut that if we were to try something different, we'd be like I was with my eyes shut on that little precipice, too afraid that we were going to fall or fail. And remember that any of those things, we don't have to. Because number one, getting into something a little different with the right help isn't going to put us in an unsafe situation because we've thought that through too. Okay? It's going to put us in a situation where we might find that we feel that we are in the garden blooming. We'd start feeling better about ourselves. Start feeling like we had something more to offer.
Where does self-esteem come into the
Right there. Because the more that you are willing to ask for help, the more that you're willing not to give up on yourself or others around you, that's where that blooming is, that self-esteem. That's self-worth, isn't it? When you're feeling happy, aren't you feeling that self-worth has increased? Yeah? When you're giving to others, this gratitude thing we're talking about now, I called it what on here? Appreciation. Gratitude for what we have leads us to the awareness of more good. Can you have too much good in your life? Silly. Okay. So basically, it's what are you grateful for? If we've gone through this positive thing and replacing all the negative chatter and we pushed it outside, and we found that actually there are some things we feel pretty good about, we're grateful for, and hopefully by this time in the conversation, it kind of nests inside here, doesn't it? Inside here and here. Inside of each one of us, we have something that we are happy about. And that little thing, whatever it is, can grow. We decide, how's that going to happen? And it doesn't have to be the same thing every day, or it can be the same thing every day. I talk to people that eat the same breakfast every day of the year. No change, even on the weekend, when I have to have bacon and eggs and hash browns. Instead of the oatmeal I have the other days. This is life. But you see what I mean? Sometimes we like variety and change, and sometimes we don't. We like some little things to be a routine, and that's okay. But the interesting thing is that what we have in our life has to work for us. It has to bring us happiness, because that's what keeps us living in the best possible way. If we're going to be here, shouldn't we be here happy? Successful? Finding those things that keep us here and keep us going. Because if we have others to care for, we have to remember that we have us to care for too. If we have somebody else to care for, grandkids, kids, loved ones. And self-worth is definitely in there. Anybody have any questions? If it's about my previous life or the one I kind of know since the accident, that's perfectly okay too. I'm an open book on that.
It's amazing that you can drive.
I think so. It's kind of amazing that sometimes I don't remember where I'm going, so I pull over and go, okay, I have to get out the notes and say, where are we going today? Yes, and then back here.
It helped not being able to remember the past, because if you couldn't remember it, you wouldn't say, look what I had before, and you could go on to improve yourself.
I couldn't dwell on what I couldn't remember, that's for sure. I love the doctors that said, okay, so what don't you remember? Did I miss something? But it was only their way of wanting to know if I had anything that came up as a memory. There are a few of us that have this kind of amnesia, and it was interesting to read her way of describing it. And she kind of put it that having nothing there and then have fleeting memories and then one day recall something and the next day have it be gone. So, yeah, it's like the freeze frame of something having happened and then wonder if you even did remember a real memory or something off of a movie or something. So it's kind of strange. But yeah, I wondered about that too. So, yes, and back here?
Oh, yes, I wanted to just say that I'm grateful that I'm here at Claremont Place because my husband developed dementia, and I wasn't able to handle it. And so I came here, and I'm getting all the help that I need and can do things that I want to do and can do to help me think differently.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, and as I've said earlier, and I keep repeating, I just think this place, Claremont Place, this physical...
It's really nice because they help me a lot.
It is. It's an amazing place to be because there's so much help here. And it's a community of that as well. I mean, when they invite folks in here, and when I was here to talk to the Alice's Tea Party where it was the... healthcare professionals were in here. Amazing group of people that come through here to help the residents, and just you could just see the community effort of all of the folks around are just amazing. So, to help all of us. Just amazing.
And she helps us too. She gives back.
Isn't that amazing?
She's on our resident council. Betty does a lot for us here too.
Excellent.
So she gives back.
That is so cool. And that's what it takes. I mean, when I first realized that I didn't have a career, I started volunteering at Pomona Valley. Did a little volunteering where I was just out of the hospital at Casa Colina. And what I was looking for was to figure out, okay, I'm supposed to support a 13-year-old kid that was still at home. The older ones were gone. But my gosh, it was like, oh, those aren't get well cards. Those are bills coming in the mail. This could be bad. So there were a lot of different things that people had me try out. And some travel involved with people that said, well, you don't remember travel, so this is how it is. You get on an airplane and you fly places. And wow. Yeah, it was all amazing. And I've been some interesting places, met a lot of amazing people. And if you read that thing, I don't know if it's on that one, I don't remember what I just read, so that's obvious. But I was over at CGU, at Claremont Graduate University, working with Peter Drucker, who was the guru of modern management, an amazing man, and met his wife Doris, and she's 101 now, and just amazes me. It holds the bar right up there. It's like, no, don't give up yet. You're not 101. I'm only 13. No, I'm a little older than that. Anyway, but the fun part was to meet all of these different people from all over the world and be able to learn from them what their experiences had been. I mean, what better than to sit in Peter Drucker's classes when he's from Austria originally, and he'd been through the experience of Germany under Hitler and everything, and to get the history of the world put back in my brain by somebody who'd lived that kind of a history of the world. And then to have his encouragement to say, if nobody's doing this with the resources you're uncovering, especially not able to use most of them, put them on the internet so that people looking for them can find them. You're going to have to do it, Celeste. And I said, let's hope somebody else is doing it, because that sounds like a lot of work. Guess what? And Julie and Steve in the back of the room, they're not only the videographers today, but they're also the ones that are keeping the website up to date. And I absolutely give them a hand, will you? They're just amazing people. And also the logo, let me bring this up again, because the Bridging the Gap, the blue one there, is done by Danny Blanco, and he is also a survivor. He's a young man who had a motorcycle accident, multiple skull surgeries to get his eye back in the place it was supposed to be, and he was a graphic artist before his accident, and he's gone back to doing that kind of work. I just love him for it. He's just an amazing young man, and gets hung up on the same subject over and over again. If you get him in conversation, it's a broken record kind of thing, but we love him, and he does this fantastic kind of work. So concentration, when he's on subject, look at this. This is fantastic. That's why I give him, down here it talks about who to contact for that kind of work. So absolutely amazing. And he's, by the way, the one that says, you know what, when I'm feeling really down and I really do get depressed, I'm the one that walks in the neighborhood saying hi to everybody. So does he have that, he's going to find that sunshine, that ray of sunshine in his day when things look really dark. So how are we doing? Any other questions or comments? Did you find your ray of sunshine? Your happiest place on earth? Doesn't have to be Disneyland. Any other comments? We're good to go? I'm so glad that Judith allows me to come back in here and talk to different groups in here. This has been fantastic. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today, and I hope to have Celeste back again. Would you guys like to come back in a few months and hear Celeste maybe on a different topic? Okay, yeah, she's been a great partner with us here, and I actually might even want you to come maybe talk to the staff at a staff meeting about keeping a positive attitude, because we are caregivers here too. Even though we're paid to be here, we still are caregivers, so we need to get that fill every day. And we were out touring around yesterday, and I met someone that talked about every day they have to check themselves at the door before they come to work. And it was another assisted living community, and I really loved that. Check yourself at the door, think of why you're here, think of how you can impact the residents' lives each day. And so we really liked that attitude, to check yourselves at the door. And then our owner also shared, he said he used to work in the restaurant business, and his manager had a hat rack when he was in college. He had a hat rack that said, "Hang your bummer here." So before you go to work and before you go out and serve people, that you go ahead and hang your bummer here. So it doesn't matter how, horrible the day, what's going on at home, that, every day when you come to work, that, you should share happiness and make that impact on someone else's life, because, we have some pretty amazing residents that are here. And so we're happy to have them. They're almost of them in the back row back there, all my ladies. And some mixed through here too. But thank you so much for coming. Just so you know, I know some of you have been here before. We do have lifelong learning every month. We've switched it. It used to be at the beginning of the month. Now it's at the end. So our next one next month is a silk scarf class. I showed some of the ladies what we have. But I wanted to let you know and give you just an example if any of you guys would like to come back for it. We are going to start it at 9:30. Oh, Mrs. Cole is wearing one. Raise your hand, Mrs. Cole. She's wearing one of the silk scarves that she made here. We have a lady, is it Rima? Rhea Vital, that comes in, and she has her master's in fine arts, and she's been doing these types of classes for years. So she is the artist, and she does the pattern on there for you with resin, and then she supplies all the materials, the silk scarf. She does everything for you, and we just charge $10 just to cover the charge of the materials and her time as the instructor here. So if anyone's interested, it's going to be Wednesday, March 27th. Make sure. Wednesday, March 27th from 9:30 to 11:30. So we are starting an hour earlier because it is a 2-hour class. And she teaches all over Los Angeles. She's starting to come into our area, so you'll probably see her around at some of the other senior communities, because I've been giving her some recommendations. I want to get her up at the Claremont Jocelyn Center and out in Rancho as well. But if anyone's interested, these are the scarves here, and you get to take those home with you. She sets the colors for you and everything. And I think most of our residents back there, Betty, I know Betty's made a couple. Most of our residents here have made 2 or 3. I think we're going to start making them and then selling them for the Alzheimer's, the Walk to End Alzheimer's, because that's something that we do here every year as well. So, and then just, you can look on our website. As I get new speakers, we add that onto our website, ClaremontPlace.com. You look under community events, and you'll be able to see, because I'm going to have Monique Saigal back again from Pomona College. She spoke here last year. I have some people that are at the University Club that I'm going to reach out to and have them speak as well. So I hope that you guys will join us again. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thank you. That was really good. You're such a good speaker. Thank you. Great.